All right. Assalamualaikum and greetings to all participants today. Before proceeding with our event, we would like to ask for your cooperation to firstly, please turn off your microphone. And secondly, be active in the discussion in the chat box provided. Leave your questions in the chat box for the Q&A session later. And lastly, please make yourself at home and enjoy the session. So once again, a very good evening to all the participants of Norma Siswa. My name is Ezzaty and I am your moderator for today. So on behalf of the organization, I would like to sincerely thank all of you for taking some time on a weekend night out of your busy schedule to be with me today. For those of you who are new here, you might not be familiar with what MRA Siswa is. So before we start, allow me to briefly introduce what our organization is about. So MRA Siswa is the student-led wing of the Malaysian Relief Agency that aims to cultivate the spirit of service among Malaysian students studying locally and abroad. So if you've heard about Malaysian Relief Agency, right, they're basically an NGO that helps underprivileged groups. And Norma Siswa is one of the projects initiated by the Culture Department in MRA Siswa itself. So the aim of the webinar series is to discuss about various cultural elements among Malaysians. So for today's episode, we have a very special guest speaker today, someone that I really look up to, and what I can guarantee everyone here today, you will be looking up to her too as well. So she's a very well-respected individual that has inspired a lot of people. She's a recipient of the prestigious Rhodes Scholarship, who is currently reading for the Masters in International Health and Tropical Medicine in the University of Oxford. And prior to that, she graduated from the University of Pennsylvania in Global Health. She has published several articles on health policy and has had experience developing Malaysia's public policy through her work in think tanks and consulting firms. So what else is amazing about her, right? You might be thinking, well, she's also an advocate for youth and female empowerment. She also co-founded Muda, a Malaysian youth-led political party, and is a member of the 111 Initiative, an organization championing 50% female representation in parliament. So passionate about social impact, right? Ezzaty has also organized and volunteered in projects near and far. She has dedicated significant time and energy to reduce education inequity in Malaysia. She even collected health data in Guatemala and tutored refugee children in London, organized female sexual and reproductive health events for Muslim women and the general public in Philadelphia. All right, so are you guys as nervous as I am? Because I am truly honored to have someone with such outstanding academic excellence to be here with us today. So without further ado, let us welcome Ezzaty Hasbullah. All right, Ezzaty, are you ready to take the turn and warmly introduce yourself to all of us here?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. Thanks for spending your Saturday night here. It's Saturday, right? I'm in quarantine right now, so like time is a construct at this point. I don't know what else to say. You pretty much described my bio very extensively. Besides that, I just look forward to listening to all your questions and see this as like a two-way session. It's just not me talking to you guys, but also like I want to listen to what you guys have to say as well. So looking forward to this.
All right, thank you, Ezzaty. So to kickstart the session, could you share with us your educational journey ever since you were in high school and how it has helped you to be where you are now?
Yeah, sure. Since high school, so I started high school, I guess middle school. I'm assuming in Malaysia, sekolah menengah, right? So I'm gonna be a bit rojak sikit. So sekolah menengah, I started with just sekolah harian biasa dekat kawasan rumah, like SMK, and then till Form 3. And then Form 4, Form 5, I got accepted to an SVP all the way in Kuala Terengganu. I live in Selangor, so it's like very far. And when I was at the SVP, I not signed up. I basically like put down my name for the Yayasan Hazanah scholarship. So I went through the application process, the selection and everything, and I got Yayasan Hazanah. So after that, they sent me to A-levels in College Yayasan UEM. There as well, they gave me the opportunity to do an SAT. I can get into the details of all of these if you just have questions. So an SAT is something that you take to study in America. A-levels, obviously, you go to the UK. I did both at the same time. So I applied to both American and UK universities, and I got accepted to all universities in the UK, and I got accepted to 2 universities in America. After thinking about it for a while, I decided to go to University of Pennsylvania, which is an Ivy League university in Philadelphia. I went there for my 4-year degree. In America, degrees are all 4 years. Initially, I was supposed to be a bio major. decided to change because in America you can do that, and became a global health major with a social anthropology minor. My third year, I went to the UK because I wanted to do a year abroad. I went to the UK, went to King's College London for 1 year, studied abroad there, also in global health. In my senior year, that's when I applied for Rhodes. I applied for Rhodes and alhamdulillah, I got it. Then I came to Oxford, I'm still doing my international health degree, and next year I'll be doing my MBA. But most people don't know is that when I first applied to Oxford, when you apply to Rhodes, you don't automatically get accepted to Oxford. You still have to compete to get to Oxford like anyone else. So when I got Rhodes, I got that first, and I applied to Oxford. I applied to 2 programs I was interested in. I did not get to either one of those. I got rejected to both. So I was devastated. I was like, oh crap, what am I gonna do? I'm not gonna be able to go into Oxford. My scholarship's gonna be retracted. But I was like, nope, chin up, gotta like push through. I applied to other programs in Oxford and I got accepted to this one. And I feel like it's really the best fit for me. I think God had his hands with where he wanted me to be. So I got myself into this program, which I love. So yeah, and here I am now.
Oh my God, thank you so much for the detailed explanation. Congratulations on your academic achievements, by the way. So just a brief question. When you were in high school, right, were you active in extracurricular activities, and what were those activities that you were active in?
Yeah, thanks for the question. When I was in SMK, I wasn't always a very confident person. It's definitely something that I developed over time. When I was in SMK, I wasn't really that active. I was pengawas. I was very good at sports. I was olahragawati for like 2 years in a row. Otherwise, I didn't really do much. Yeah, I didn't really do much. And then I got to SEP. And SEP, I came into asrama tu, I made a point to myself like, okay, these are the 2 years that's really going to matter. I knew I wanted to study abroad. I knew I wanted to get that study abroad experience. So I knew I needed to like push hard to up my CV and my personal statement, to put myself in a good position to get a scholarship. So that's why I really pushed myself. Also, not just that, I also wanted to grow as a person. So when I was in SVP, I wakil SVP for debate, I wakil for basketball, I did like student exchanges, I presented in Thailand. Yeah, I did a lot of those kind of things. I was also pengawas, like I was penolong pengawas at that point of time. So yeah, I would say my most active extracurricular time was at SVP. SMK wasn't really, but it wasn't easy either. I was not a natural debater. I was not a natural speaker. It was something that I had to develop over time. Yeah.
Thank you, Ezzaty. So since you have experience studying abroad, both in the UK and the US, do you notice any significant differences between their education system and Malaysia? And what do you think can be implemented by the Malaysian education system just so that they can be on the same level with other countries?
Yeah. So going back to like, as I told you my story, I've never actually experienced being a university student in Malaysia. So I can't really compare UK, America, and Malaysia because I have no experience in Malaysia. So what I can say is I can tell you what the UK and US is like. So there are 2 things I would like to know. 2. The first one is the way you decide your degree. In Malaysia, I'm not quite sure how it goes, but in the UK, you apply to the university with a specific degree in mind. So for example, you apply to be a bio punya graduate and you get accepted as a bio graduate and you like go through the whole 3 years as a bio graduate. In America, you can actually apply undecided, and even if you apply for like a bio degree, but when you go there, you feel like you wanted to do something else, you can, because you only declare your major, which is your degree, your second year. So personally, I chose America because of that, because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And you know how like Malaysia punya sekolah menengah system, if you're pandai, you immediately get put into the science stream. And I never got to explore other things like history, like sociology and stuff like that. I wanted to see, and I found out that I like those things better. So that's why I changed. So that's the difference between America and the UK. The other big difference aligned with that is how the degree is structured. In America, you might be a bio major, but for the courses, you get to choose what course you want. You can take, for instance, evolutionary biology and some microbiology, but some people want to do something else. But in the UK, if you're a bio major, a bio degree, everyone takes the same courses pretty much. Contoh, you get to choose 1 or 2 courses, but that's pretty much it. So it's pretty rigid. That I benefited a lot from that US degree because I really got to shape it in a way that fulfilled sort of my interest and passion. The second biggest difference is the way the examination is built. In the UK, it's only like a midterm or like only a final paper. That's it. I hated it. It was very anxiety inducing. In America, it's way more spread out. For instance, even your participation in class is a grade. So the things that you say in class and the questions you bring up is like maybe 10-30% for your grade. And then your midterms, your pop quiz, your finals, your presentation. So it's very spread out. That's the biggest difference. Personally, I feel like I'm assuming the Malaysian system is more similar to the UK system. So I think what would be great is having the flexibility for students to choose their courses and to explore other things before they ultimately decide, because who the heck knows what they want to do at Form 5? Like, no one does. So having that flexibility, I think, is be very key to enable people to pursue something they're actually passionate in. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Ezzaty. I have a question. So in Malaysia, right, most universities, local universities, they try to like force their students to take up a third language class. It's like mandatory for like 3 semesters at least in UITM. So like, is there something like that in the UK and US system? Like they have like this mandatory for a third language classes for their students, or is it like something that you can just take up if you want to?
In the American system, there is something like that, which I went around because technically it's not a third language, it's more like a second language requirement. But because I already speak Malay, I was like, okay, I can test out of this. I got a waiver, so I didn't have to take any other language courses, but I did do like Arabic. So yes, in America, there is that requirement. It's a minimum of 3 courses, so 3 semesters worth of classes.
Amazing. Thank you so much. All right. So a lot of students, right, they have this concern. They are intimidated to study abroad, mainly because they're afraid of not understanding the lectures. Because we got some questions where the students' concerns were like, oh, if I'm not proficient in English, would it be hard for me to understand what the lecturers are saying? So how would you describe your learning experience in terms of like language differences? I mean, like, do you see any students in your class who have difficulty processing the entire learning experience and whatnot?
Yeah, I would say the biggest, again, whenever you enter university, anywhere you may be, it's always going to be hard because the way universities grade is very different from what you're used to in SPM. Kan? It's not just macam there's one set answer, especially if you do something that's essay based. You have to write a lot. That's something that's like a skill that you have to develop. Personally, for me, the first time I took a course that was essay based, like writing based, which is my first global health course, I didn't do so well because I wasn't used to writing that way. I wasn't used to engaging with English literature that way or to like read a lot of like very heavy academic papers. So it was definitely hard at first. But having said that, my philosophy in life is that usually the things that are hard to do are the ones that are worth doing. Because when you do something hard, that's when you grow. When you're always in your comfort zone, you really don't push yourself to do anything. So you're just static. So what's the point of doing that? So if your fear is that you don't feel like you will be able to meet the expectations, then I would say push past that, send in the application. If the university decides that you are actually qualified, then go. If you actually go there and you go through the process and push yourself, you'll be amazed at what you're capable of doing. So I think that voices is usually voices of doubt that are not really productive. So it's way more worth it to push through and just like give yourself a chance. You always regret things you don't do. Ultimately, you always regret things that you wish you did.
Yeah, that's an amazing advice. I'm gonna remember that for a lifetime. Thank you, Ezzaty. So how do you manage your time and balance out your studies and your personal external involvements? Because as we can see, you're very, very active in a lot of things. So how do you balance it out?
Yeah. So I think right now people have this imagination of me as someone who's done a lot. And as you said, my bio just now, like you list out all the things I've done. But I think people tend to overlook the fact that I accumulated all these experiences over 4 or 5 years. It's not something that I did everything in one night. And at the same time, it wasn't something that I did alone. I was always part of a team of people who did it with me. There's always like a village behind a person, right? So those two things bear in mind whenever I give you tips. Whenever I say like tips about like managing time, it's important, but at the same time, it's not like I was doing everything at the same time. So just bear that in mind as well. So in terms of actually managing time per se, I am best friends with my Google Calendar. Like I follow that thing to a T. I always write things down. I make sure I follow through. I even schedule my rest times and my socializing time. Yeah, that's just how you do it. At the same time, also being okay with saying no to things. I think people who are like more type A and go-getters, they tend to just say yes to everything, but realize that you're also human. It's better to do things in a very quality manner than to have a lot of things but really don't really have an impact at all. So I think quality over quantity is definitely something that I prioritize. So that's how I balance my time.
Great advice again, Ezzaty. I'm so amazed at how you are able to like, balance it out, because I feel like I have this tendency to say yes to practically everything. If someone gives me a task, I'd say yes, 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 because I feel like, it's a way for you to gain experience. But then again, when you keep putting yourself that burden of like joining everything, you will feel burnt out, and it just makes it does not make your work more proficient or like good. So like it's just a waste of time. Yeah. All right. Ezzaty, how did you start volunteering in foreign countries? Like, how do you engage with the societies or find organizations there that suit your purpose and passion? And how do you get involved with that?
Yeah. I started volunteering really when I was in university. So like right where you are, right where you guys are really, right? The way I started first was I looked out for Malaysian organizations because I was abroad. So the easiest in for me was through finding Malaysian organizations. And as a freshman, which is my first year, as a freshman, I applied to be the vice president of the East Coast Presidential Council, which is the student association for all Malaysians studying on the East Coast of America, just East Coast because America is so big. So when I got that connection, I sort of built my Malaysian network and sort of found other opportunities, like volunteering opportunities. So definitely started with my Malaysian base and Malaysian groups like Kalsom. I was working with them in Malaysia. The Charisma movement, I was working with them in Malaysia as well. So that's how that spread out. With work in Guatemala, it was through my universities. When you go to universities in America or the UK or abroad, I don't know how it is in Malaysia, there's always opportunities. You just need to know where to look. And you just need to apply for it when it's presented to you. So that's what I did. I just applied to things. And when the opportunity is not there, I literally just emailed maybe the president of the club or maybe a supervisor who's doing that project and just like, hey, I'm interested in what you're doing. I would love to be part of it. Is there any way I can contribute? And opportunities open up. I think the thing with a lot of Malaysian students, be it anywhere in the world, it's not really a skill that we are taught. We don't really ask for things. So we're very like passive. We just like wait for things to come to us. But I think what I've learned is that a lot of opportunities that are valuable, you have to create yourself. Just email people and ask if you can help. What's the worst that can happen? They say no, and so what? What's the best that can happen? They say yes, and you get a great opportunity. So I think that's how I get involved. With other other projects, is things I start myself. So I apply for fundraising, I apply for grants. So and then I organize it myself with a team. Yeah. There's always like-minded people who want to support like causes.
Yeah, thank you, Ezzaty. This reminded me of a silly incident that happened like a few years ago. I think during my SPM year, I was very stressed out about the thought of like sitting for SPM. So what I did was that time we had Olympics and we had a Malaysian team for badminton. And what I did was that I emailed the Badminton Association of Malaysia. I told them, are you recruiting an SPM student? Like I can play badminton, but if you train me enough, maybe I can be just as great, because I wanted to avoid SPM. So what I did was that I emailed them, and at first I didn't think about whether or not they would like laugh at me or anything, because I felt like, if you don't try, you don't know. So I did the email and they replied. I thought they were gonna laugh at me or reply with something, get a job or something like that. But they actually said like, if you're interested, you can come come and see us and like try participate in a few events so that you can enhance your skills. But then when that actually happened, I was like, nah, I don't think I want to be a badminton player. So like just like you said, I think it's very important for us to like step out of our comfort zone and like reach out to people first if you feel like you're really interested and invested in a particular thing. Thank you so much. All right, so the next question is, what is the biggest challenge you had to face to achieve success?
Biggest challenge I had to face to achieve success. I guess it also depends on how you define success, right? So if I were to define success as, I guess where I am now, I think the biggest challenge for me was questions of imposter syndrome, like self-doubt, just like what you asked before. There are always times in my life where I am wondering whether, oh, am I actually good enough to do this? Is it going to be a waste of my time? Like, are people going to find out that I'm actually a fraud? Yada, yada. So I remember when I got Rhodes juga, like, okay, before I applied for Rhodes, I was already like questioning, like, should I even apply? But when I got Rhodes, I was like so anxious when the news articles started coming out and people like, oh, Ezzaty, the Rhodes Scholar. I felt like I'm just Ezzaty, like a normal person. So I was like, that imposter syndrome is there. But I've realized that, like I mentioned before, it's so not productive to anything. If anything, I think that imposter syndrome, sometimes I try to rethink it as a way to push me to do better. Like if I think I'm not good enough here, then I'm going to do more things to improve. So for instance, my speaking skills or my writing skills or stuff like that. I think it's always, and plus like imposter syndrome is always the issue of like, you assume what people think of you. So it doesn't really matter if people think of you a certain way or not, because as long as you're doing things that you believe matter to you and you're honest with what you're doing and you're pursuing things that are important, I think it really shouldn't stop you. So I think imposter syndrome is that, and it's something that till today I am still like working on.
All right, thank you, Ms. Ezzaty. All right, so we'll be moving towards the culture segment, something related about the culture in UK and US. So what are the things that you find to be challenging in adapting to different cultures in the UK or the US?
Adapting to cultures in the UK. I would say adapting to the US was way harder than adapting to the UK. When I went to the UK the first time around during my third year, I had a Malaysian community and I stayed in a house full of Malaysians. So it's like, senang lah ada member. Kat US is very different. I went there when I was 20. I flew over by myself because my parents can afford a flight ticket to America. It's so expensive. I flew by myself. I landed in the airport by myself, and I remember like holding back tears as I arrived from the airport to like I sampai bilik. And the moment I sampai my dorm room, I just bursted out crying and didn't stop crying for like a month there, because like I think the biggest thing is just cultural nuances. It's not macam culture shock tau. It's like when you're with a group of Malaysians, you guys have a shared language. You can talk about your love for food. You can talk about your love for like Trekarama or something, or like things that you grew up with. But when you're in America, people who have different life experiences, they just susah nak ngam sikit. For instance, like I was playing this game called Cards Against Humanity. There was like a comedy game, right? So I put down things I thought was hilarious and I think would get a great laugh in my Malaysian group, but no one there got my humor. Like no one understood. And that's not surprising because like you came from different backgrounds. I think stuff like that I macam tak berapa nak ngam with Americans, but it definitely got better over time. It pushed me to like find people who are community, and I found that I get along great with the Muslim students in America. Who are mostly second generation immigrants. So we have that shared sort of faith. So yeah, it took some time, but I found my community and I'm really, really grateful that I pushed myself to find that different community. It really opened up my eyes to how Americans see the world. Yeah, and I'm very grateful for it.
All right, thank you, Ms. Ezzaty. All right, so do you think, in your perspective, do you think social adaptation to the locals as a transfer student is a must, or are we able to like just stick to our national peers our entire studies?
I feel like the way that question is phrased as an either or is misleading. I think you can do both at the same time. I think you can adapt to how you want to. Can adapting means different thing. Like for me, I'm a practicing Muslim. I don't drink, I don't do clubs, I don't do weed. And like local people there, that's how they hang out. Like in America, they have frats. You watch American movies, they have fraternities and sororities, that's how they party. And this is not my scene. So I adapted by being with like the Muslim association people, like American Muslims. So I ate their food, I prayed with them. For instance, like dekat Malaysia, I think surau macam dia bahagi kat situ, dia satu bilik je. So like stuff like that. I think it depends on how you define adaptation. And I don't think adaptation is wrong if adaptation also means that you're able to speak up more in class. At the same time, like I said before, I found my roots in the Malaysian community first when I was in America. Like my university kat Penn, kat America, had no Malaysians. Ada 10 orang Malaysian je in the whole university, lebih kurang. So I missed having that Malaysian community. Personally, for me, I'm very close to my family. I'm a very proud Malaysian at heart. So I wanted to find Malaysian community, and I feel like when I found my Malaysian community, like it gave me what I needed, which is some remembering of home and cakap pasal benda politik Malaysia and all the stuff that happening in Malaysia. But when I was also interacting with Americans, I got to see their perspective and have like the American university experience. So you can do both at the same time. There's nothing stopping you from achieving both. It's just you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Ezzaty. I think you've shared with us before about dealing with Islamophobia in the UK or the US. Could you share with us those experiences and how you overcome their fear after like dealing with such situations?
Yeah, so at that point of time, I was still wearing the hijab. I've not had Islamophobic interactions when I was in America, but I had it when I was in the UK that 1 year I was studying abroad, surprisingly. At the point of time, it was also the peak of Brexit, so nationalism was at an all-time high. It was just not good for a lot of immigrants in the country. I remember at that point of time, so also close to the New Zealand shooting, I was on a bus. It was like around 9 p.m. Just really, really dark. It was around winter, so it got dark very, very early. This semi-drunk, like 40-year-old man came on the bus, white man came on the bus and just like looked me straight in the eye and said, they should have gotten more of you guys in New Zealand. And I was just like shook. I wanted to take my phone out to record, but I didn't want to instigate him more. I didn't want it to be violent. And he said some other like very classic racist Islamophobic thing like, oh, go back to where you came from, yada, yada, yada. So that was the one time. Second time was I was in Ireland. I was on a public bus with my other hijabi friend, and this guy who was sitting opposite to us like tried to tarik my friend's hijab, and we just moved out of the way. Yeah, I would say it's naive to think that when you go abroad, you won't face these kind of things. I remember as well for my final year at Penn, my dad said to me, and time ni macam banyak gila like mass shootings in America. Like, you know, in America, they have guns everywhere in certain places. And it's scary because you buy a gun kat Giant, which is like a Walmart. You can buy a gun at Walmart, imagine that. But I remember my dad told me, like, kakak, be careful when you're around like black people. And I told my dad, like, why black people? There's white people who are like shooting at us. And he said, yes, but they're shooting at black people. So you might be caught in a crossfire. So stuff like that, it just made me very careful. I was definitely like, I wouldn't say I wasn't scared, but I didn't let the fear stop me from doing things. I would not go to public mosques because I felt like it was a risk. But I would go to like musola yang ada card access, only students can boleh masuk. So I think it's just a matter of like being street smart. I never went to parts in America. Yeah, I know ada banyak redneck, which is people who are very racist. It's just about being street smart. And I don't think that fear should stop you from going to these places, because sometimes people just need to interact with each other more to be able to understand other people's perspective. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Ezzaty, for sharing with us those experiences. I'm so sorry you had to go through such situations. So we'll be moving on towards the scholarship or application related section. So the first question is, what is the expectation given towards a Rhodes Scholar to maintain their scholarship?
Oh, I don't think there is any. You just have to not fail out of your course to maintain the scholarship, yeah.
Okay, interesting. How do you prepare yourself to ace the scholarship filtering process? If you
Yeah, of course. So many people don't know this, but actually the Rhodes Scholarship in your process, you apply based on your constituency, and that's like your country per se. So when you apply to Rhodes, you tak apply with you tak compete with everyone in the entire world. You compete with Malaysians because you're Rhodes Malaysia. So you send your application and you go through the Rhodes Malaysia process. So what that entail for Rhodes Malaysia is one, your personal statement, two, 5 reference letters, 3 academic, 2 non-academic, like character references, 3 your transcript, 4 your CV. So you need to get all those things ready. And then if they accept you, you get called to do an in-person interview, which consists of like a dinner with all the other finalists and the interviewers. And also the next day, you have a 45-minute interview with a panel of 7 people. So it's not one-on-one, like 7 orang interview you seorang for like 45 minutes. And if you get it, then you get it. Finalists, every year that's about like 7 or 8. And every year people, like 1 or 2 people get the scholarship. So your question of like how I prepared, the reason why I even thought of applying for Rhodes was because at that point of time, I tengah second year student to America. My senior, who is 4-year, like at that time, the 4th year, a Malaysian senior kat Penn, got Rhodes. And it sort of made me believe that if he can do it, maybe I should give it a chance. I feel like sometimes when you know someone personally who did it or someone in your community, it makes you believe that you have a shot too. So it planted that idea in my mind, my second year. And in America, at Penn, they had, this is a big privilege, by the way. At Penn, which is an Ivy League school, they had a counselor whose job is to advise students who want to apply for this kind of scholarship. So I talked to him, I asked him what should I do. He said like, manage your reference letters. Reference letters is very important. And also like, I built up my CV, but there wasn't the reason why I did those things that I did, like volunteering and stuff. I didn't do it just to build my CV. I mostly did it because it was things that I was actually passionate about. So if I were to give like one big advice to people who are thinking about doing Rhodes, it's really to put yourself out there, like find your passion. And the only way to do that is to try out different things and really put yourself out there. Apply for positions, organize stuff, start like pioneer stuff. So I think that's the biggest thing. You just need to pursue things that you're interested in, because that becomes content for your personal statement and your CV and people who write your reference letters juga. And focus on your studies lah. Yeah.
All right, so Ms. Ezzaty, so personal statements and reference letters, they are both different things. You have to prepare a personal statement as well, right?
Yes, reference letters are not things that I prepare. They're things that, for instance, kalau academic reference letters, my lecturer tuliskan. For my character reference letters, people who work with me in my organizations, people macam ada position. For instance, at that point in time, I suruh someone kat Malaysian Embassy tuliskan, and the other one was someone from the Muslim Association punya teacher liaison. Yeah.
All right. Ezzaty, could you share with us how you wrote your personal statements? Like what's important to be included in your personal statement?
Yeah. Again, like just a blanket advice. Not all personal statements are made the same. Each sort of scholarship looks for a different thing in personal statement. Specifically for Rhodes, if you read on your website, their whole thing is really about finding the next future leaders, like people who wants to fight the world's fight. So the personal statement process for Rhodes is about finding your narrative. And what that means is like finding your story. So what that looks like is basically, first you need to talk about you have to say what is your passion, right? Like what is it that the thing in the future that you want to do? And you have to tie that into going back to like looking at what are the things in the past that spurred your interest in that passion. And from there, what have you done since then that proves that you're actually serious about this passion that you say you want to do in the future? And then you have to tie it into like Rhodes, like how does Rhodes and how does Oxford helps you in your journey towards realizing this thing? For instance, I can say my passion is to fight for gender equity, right? And I can say that it started from like when I was younger, I had these experiences, yada, yada. And since then, I have done A, B, C, and D. And I believe that being as a Rhodes Scholar and being in Oxford studying so-and-so degree will help push me to be able to pursue these things and realize this vision in the future. I think that's how you should look at the personal statement. It's bringing your CV to life. It's like, what is the story? That's really it.
Thank you so much for the tips, Ezzaty. I have a question about, you said earlier that you were interviewed in a room with 7 people as well. And can
Yeah.
you share with us what the interview experience was like? Was it nerve-wracking, and what were the questions they asked, and how were able to answer those questions?
Yes. So it was nerve-wracking. Who wouldn't find it nerve-wracking? 7 people, and it's not like macam bukan orang cacalah biasa. Like there were lecturers, there were CEOs of companies, there were partners of firm, there were people who were leading organizations and NGOs. Even politicians were there as well. So macam they were like big name people. Like okay, I get to know my stuff. Um, Definitely a lot of prep went into it. Like I had 2 mock interviews with a panel of people before that interview. So I get to experience what it feels like to have to talk to 7 people at the same time. And also I prepared in terms of thinking about the questions they might ask me and writing things down. Like I remember this one time I was visiting my friend at Los Angeles, at California, and we were just on a bus, and I would like record myself answering questions for me to hear how I sound, and like play it back to hear myself speak to see if it makes sense. So a lot of preparation went into it. So yes, I was very like nervous, but I did my homework and I presented myself there to the best that I can. And really, to answer your question of how I answered, it's really about being honest and being real. There was even a point during the interview that I almost cried because they asked me what was like my biggest regret or something, and I was being real. So I think that's the best advice I can give you. Prepare and be true to yourself.
All right, thank you, Ezzaty. Okay, this is the last question before we move to Q&A. In your perspective, based on your experiences, how can we stay on the lookout for scholarship opportunities? Do you have any suggestions or websites or accounts that we can follow?
Yeah, I think there are several like websites that collates information on scholarships. I don't remember it per se, nama dia, but maybe I can share it to Norma so you can share it on your platforms. But there are websites available that compiles all the scholarship information and puts it out there. Besides that, I think just reach out to your counselor. Most people know what the scholarship. Reach out to people who have these scholarships. Like I've had several people just DM me on Instagram and ask me about roads, ask me about what other scholarships there are out there, because people tend to know these things together. So I think that's pretty much it. I'll be sure to look out for that website and I send it to you guys so you can share it on your platforms juga.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, we'll be moving towards the first Q&A because we have like a bunch of questions being asked on YouTube as well. All right, so the first question is, I read somewhere that if you were studying in an Ivy League, you are not allowed to work part-time. Is that true?
No. It's usually if you're just studying in the Ivy League, you boleh, and even then there's like a lot of campus jobs that they have available for you, like student jobs. So definitely you can work part-time. But having said that, there are some scholarships that don't allow you to work part-time. For instance, I was Hazanah scholar, Hazanah tak bagi kerja part-time. So you can't. So it's not really university punya rule, it's usually scholarship punya rules.
All right, thank you. Next question is, how do you enhance your leadership abilities?
Enhancing leadership abilities. How do you do that besides just having positions in organizations? I think it's really it. It's a matter of you have to do the work. And oftentimes people are too scared to take up their first position because they feel macam dia tak layak or tak ada experience. But that's how you gain experience. You take the position. There's chicken and egg situation. So really the only way to enhance the leadership experience is to have a position in an organization. And how do you do that? You have to apply. And if you feel like you're like unworthy, then you just have to make a case for yourself. Yeah, that's really it.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, the next question is, what's the biggest challenge that you deal with when working with people from different cultural backgrounds?
The biggest issue is a matter of macam cultural differences in expectations of work. And it's not just people from different cultures because different nationalities tau. Even like within the Malaysian community, macam there are people from different backgrounds who are not from my background who might expect different ways of work. For instance, for me, like the way I work is very macam type A, so very macam ABCD, let's get it done, cepat-cepat ikut timeline. But some people like more like go with the flow, who likes to have a lot more team discussions and stuff like that. So I think that often becomes a point of conflict. But as you work with more teams, you sort of realize that different people have different strengths. And when you get more feedback from people about how you are, you realize how you lead and how you're in a team, and you can better work in a team environment. So I think that's definitely a very, very important skill to have. I think for me, like I used to be very bossy, and I didn't realize that. But when I had feedback from my peers who worked with me, they said, "Oh, you need to like tone this down a bit." I'm like, "Oh, okay, thanks for telling me." So it's something that I've been working on as well. So that's like usually the difference, the main challenge.
I think it's a matter of accepting criticism from your peers juga. If someone points out that maybe you should like self-reflect a bit. I think personally the criticism that I usually get is that I tend to say yes to everything and not asking for help, which is quite something that's very critical as well, because if I keep doing that, not all the work that I'm doing is something that's satisfactory to people, and it's something I need to work on. All right, Ms. Ezzaty, the next question is, would you say that you're someone that likes to read books? And if you are, do you have any book recommendations?
I would say I'm someone who wants to be someone who likes to read books, if that makes sense. I think that's the ideal version of me is someone who reads books. But on a day-to-day, because I read a lot for my degree is very writing heavy, and a lot of my work in policy papers is a lot of reading of research papers. Like whenever I have time off, I just want to chill. But I've been trying to read a lot more. When I was younger, I read so much. And now I'm trying to get back into that habit. The books that I usually reach out to are usually non-fiction books. Like recently, I just finished a book called, it's an amazing book, by the way. I highly recommend to everyone in this call. What is it called? Let me look at my iPad real quick. The book is right here. It's something to do with tips for 20-year-olds. Just let me pull it up. It's called The Defining Decade, Why Your 20s Matter and How to Make the Most of Them Now. So that is the kind of book I look out for. It's books that either one, it's about things that I'm passionate in academically, so about public health, about inequality, about politics, or books that are more reflectionary wise, that is based on data, not just self-help book tanpa any basis. So The Defining Decade, Why Your 20s Matter is a book that I highly recommend to all 20-year-olds to really make the most of your time as a 20-year-old, because it really is an important time in your life that will set you up to achieving things later down the line. So those are the kind of books I reach out for.
All right. Thank you, Ezzaty. Okay, this is an interesting question. So a lot of girls, they're very scared of voicing out their opinions because they will be labeled as aggressive. You're not supposed to be like that. That's not feminine. So in your opinion, how do we encourage girls to just step out of their comfort zone and, be true to yourself and just voice out whatever concerns you have? And how do we have more female representation in parliament?
That's always heartbreaking, because I feel that personally, because I was definitely one of those girls who felt that she couldn't speak up because it wasn't feminine, or it's too bossy, or guy-like, or yada 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 yada. But truly, it's such a waste of talent. Imagine a world where women had the same level of confidence as an average man. Again, no hate to any men out there. It's just women have been put down in the way you live your life. We've just not been culturally trained to speak our minds. We've always been trained, especially in Malaysia, about Malay women specifically, because that's my experience. It's always kena sopan santun, it's have to be ladylike, you can't push back. You tengok Cikarama, it's always about some girl tengah merana, but take it senyap. Sampai one day someone sedar baru she gets out of it. It's really BS, to be honest. I think it's a matter of recognizing in yourself as a woman that your opinions matter, and they matter a lot. Also, when you speak up, it's usually because it's something that's important and it matters, right? So have faith that what you're saying is actually really, really important, and just build off of that message. And I think as a Muslim juga, whenever I hear stories of Muslim women in the past, they weren't meek people. They stood their ground. They were they were champions. They were warriors, really. So there's no reason why gadis Melayu Muslim tak boleh macam speak up. There is like really that construction is a pure myth created by society to put people down. But the second part of the question is like how to put people, how to have more women in parliament. I think it's really a lot more public education. A lot of young girls don't know when like to speak up, and two don't know how to get into like a political field. Macam it's very opaque. Tengoklah kat parlimen sekarang pun tak ramai perempuan. Yang tu pun ramai perempuan, ramai wanita kat parlimen, they had like some connections to politicians in the past. Ada channel like politicians, right? So I think it's a matter of like having the process be more transparent, and two, like public engagement and capacity building for women to be more brave to speak their voices. Those two things.
All right, thank you, Ezzaty. So the next question is, how would you describe your learning experience in the UK and the US? Are the schedules very tight? Because in Malaysia, the schedules for public universities or private universities, they can be very, very hectic, and we don't even have time for ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah. In America, it's very tight. But then again, I mentioned before, you sort of choose your courses every semester. So you decide, macam, okay, I want to have all my classes just on Monday, Wednesday, be very, very stable, and Thursday, Friday, I'm not free. You can do that if you want to. Or you want to have like classes spread out in the week. So it's busy, but it's not really busy because of the course, because of the lecture hours, but it's busy because, like I mentioned before, in the American system, dia punya exam marking system is very spread out, right? So participation, midterm, sport quiz, but times that by like 5 courses a semester, it adds up to become a lot. So you're always busy doing revision or doing some kind of presentation or whatever. But I personally enjoy it because it means I'm actively learning throughout this semester. In the UK, honestly, it was like so free. It was so free. I was so free. I even got myself I even got to travel in so many places. Yeah, I didn't like it, to be honest, because I didn't feel like I was learning. It's a lot of self-learning. They only had one lecture that's 2.5 hours a week, and I only had 3 classes. So it's like 3 classes a week. So yeah, but again, it's just my experience, different experiences for different degrees and different people. Yeah.
All right, amazing perspective, Ezzaty. So we have another question. Spending quite a bit of time overseas allows for yourself to gain not only academic experiences, but also general life experiences as well. So in saying this, how does studying abroad change, affect, or reconstruct your values, and what one significant issue or matter that has completely changed your views due to this?
Studying abroad, significant issue. I think one big thing that changed the way I view the world and changed the way I am as a person when I was studying abroad is young people speaking up in America. A lot of young people are very politically active or socially active in one way or another. And even in classes, like young people would speak their mind. And it really showed me when I was in the US that young people are really valued for their opinion and they're taken seriously. So when I came back to Malaysia, like during my summer break before my final year, after my graduation and before my Oxford start date, it made me want to be active and advocate for more youth participation in politics and just in social life in general in society. So that was something that was really, changed my perspective in how I viewed the world. And at the same time, also increased my confidence in my own voice and my own values and opinions juga. So I would say that was the biggest thing for me. And it really spurred me to where I am now, being like very outspoken about political issues and policy issues in Malaysia. Yeah.
All right. So the next question is, when you first started studying abroad, how did you deal with the fact that you had to stay away from your family members? Were there times where you just cried because you missed them? And what did you do to cope with that?
Yeah, many times. I was one of the people who would come back every summer. Like my 4 years there, I balik Malaysia every summer because I'm very, very close to my family. So I don't like staying away for too long. So yes, I definitely cried. How I coped with it was really one, I kept myself busy, and two, I would just call my family and just like have video calls and check in. Honestly, that's the only way to do it. And hanging out with Malaysians always helped juga.
All right, thank you. We have another interesting question here. Hi, Miss Ezzaty. I would like to ask how to relieve the doubts that I am facing as I wrongly chose my course. I mean, I worked really hard for it, but in the end, due to my careless mistake, I couldn't have the chance to study abroad.
So wait, what was the question again? Do you mind just saying it again?
Yeah, how to relieve the doubts that I am facing because I wrongly chose my course.
Yeah, that's a tough one, especially in like Malaysian system where you don't really have a lot of opportunities for change, and it's also hard for me to answer because I don't quite know how the Malaysian system works. Yeah, that's a tough one, Azida. What do you think? Is there like any way for you to change your course?
I feel like in Malaysia, you can't really change your course unless like you apply for it again. And I think that takes a lot of time. And I think the
Yeah.
concern that a lot of students have is that I don't want to graduate late than my peers. They want to graduate on the same time. So most of them tend to just like, it's done. I can't do anything about it. So just proceed. Yeah.
Red dodge lah.
Uh,
But I think there's two ways to go about it. If you feel like it's something, to the person who asked the question, if the course that you actually want to do is something that macam you know that you want to do and you want to pursue as a career, and if what's stopping you from choosing that course is because you're scared to graduate late, I don't think that's a good enough reason to say no to reapplying, because this is a decision. As much as what you study don't determine what you're going to do for the rest of your life, but if you're very passionate about it, I think you should really consider like reapplying. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Ezzaty. Okay, so the next question from Shubi Gupta. Since everything is online now, what can we do to collect credits and experiences to have better chance in good universities?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think a lot of my siblings are also facing the same issue juga. And I benefited greatly from being able to volunteer like in person. But I think now that we've been in a pandemic for almost 2 years, what I've been seeing is that now there's a lot of student organizations that are moving their work online. So yeah, there's a lot of those things you can get involved in. You can like apply for those things and be involved in it, even start your own thing. So I think there are opportunities available online, and internships with companies are also still available. So you can still apply for those to get like real world working experience. I highly recommend everyone here to apply for internships if they have the opportunity and they have a company that they're interested in working with.
Also, not trying to self-promote the organization, but we have volunteering opportunities in our organization as well. So if anyone is interested, please feel free to reach out to us as well. All right. So next question is, what did you do when you feel so demotivated? What did you do when you feel so demotivated about your study stuff?
Yeah, what do I do when I feel demotivated? What do I do when I get low grades? I usually take a breather. I take some time off. Usually when I feel demotivated, it could be a few reasons, right? For instance, maybe I got a low grade, or I'm just burnt out and I'm tired, or I'm not interested in the course anymore. So what I would do is I would just take some time away from my studies and do other things to sort of re-energize myself, and not push it too much. Because I realized, personally for me, when I try to push something that I don't want to do, it becomes very much ineffective. I tend to just procrastinate and end up on like Instagram or something. So I would say take some time off, and then I would study with people. I love studying with my friends, so that usually motivates me to get back into it. So yeah, finding your group of people who will motivate you and study together, I think is very important.
All right, thank you, Ezzaty. So I think we have a few questions left. Can you share with us one of your goals, short term and long term?
Yeah, my short-term goal is I think after my MBA, right? Next I'm doing an MBA for my final sort of Rhodes program. My short-term goal is to get a good job in a field that I'm interested in. Like personally, I want to work in either policy making or foundation work involving global health practice. So getting a job that like it's something like somewhat of a dream job for me. So that's my short-term goal. My longer-term goal is definitely to come to, inshallah, we'll see what happens, like be involved in the political scene in Malaysia, because I definitely firmly believe that we need more female politicians in parliament. So long-term wise, I hope to be in Malaysia and do that kind of work.
All right, thank you, Ezzaty. This is a great question, by the way. Next question is, based from your experience studying in America, did you experience some sort of masculinity toxicity based discrimination from cultures such as frat boy, sigma male, and such? Recently, this is enlightening as various industries pose these sort of problems, such as workplace harassments.
Yeah, I must say these kind of things is not just an America thing, in Malaysia too. I don't know if you follow my Instagram, I just posted something on my story just literally yesterday. I asked my followers like, oh, like give me some information on vaccination, and literally this guy out of nowhere like slid into my DM, said something that was completely misogynistic and sexual and inappropriate. This is like a Malay guy here whose profile says that he's also a father. So misogynistic culture is not just an American thing, it's also a Malaysian thing, it's also a UK thing. And I was a victim of sexual assault, and I was in Malaysia at that point of time. So stuff like that happens everywhere. Unfortunately, the case. So what was the question? Sorry, I feel like I derailed.
I think the question was,
have I experienced it?
Yeah, did you experience some sort of those experiences?
I must say, having said that, America is doing better than Malaysia because they take these things seriously. Like as part of the orientation when you go to American universities is they have sexual harassment seminars, and they have people you can specifically call to report any issues such as like this, and they will follow through. You can go to the police, or you can just go to the counselor, and there's even like mental health counselors that they like continuously promote to say that there are resources available. I can't say the same in Malaysia. After seeing all these cases of like harassment, I think it was in UM or UITM, the recent case, right, with the professor, and how people in Malaysia tend to silence women who speak up. Unfortunately, Malaysia is just not where it needs to be when it comes to supporting survivors of sexual assault. And that's just the unfortunate reality as it is now. It's something that we need to push for.
All right, thank you, Ezzaty. I think this could be the last question, and then I have one question left. Okay, so the next question is, does the cultural differences there affect your communication or relationship with your lecturers or your studies?
Cultural differences, I would say no, not really. Yeah, I feel like people at university level, when you're like in America or the UK, like universities that also has a lot of international students, they tend to, for instance, like understand. And studies why I don't think it really matters. I would say more like on a social level. Like for instance, like after class they want to go like bar hopping or whatever, and I say, oh, I don't drink, and they say, okay, let's just go to a cafe or something. So it's like I don't think it's impacted me that much. The only example I can think of is, for instance, bila I punya class like goes through waktu solat, especially time winter where Maghrib dengan Isyak is very, very close, and I have class at that time. So I just have to tell my professor that, hey, I need to pray. Some professors, I've had instances where macam not as understanding, but most are very understanding. So I wouldn't say it has impacted my studies at all. If anything, I feel like it enriches my experience. I feel like my best experiences in university is when I'm in diverse groups where people learn from each other from different backgrounds, like people from, for instance, Nigeria. I have classmates from Europe, from China, and we all learn together. And I think our cultural diversity is a strength in the class because we learn about things from different perspectives. And I don't think you should be worried that you're different. If anything, you should be proud that you're different.
Amazing advice, Ezzaty. Thank you so much. All right, so a question from me is that, do you think the education definitely plays a role in empowering women, right? So in your perspective, what can they do? What kind of strategies that can be done to empower girls in school?
Empower girls in schools in Malaysia?
Yeah.
I think definitely one thing that needs to be done in Malaysia is to stop with a lot of the macam, those like stupid jokes, like for instance, Ayn, right? She has safe schools hashtag after what happened in her school. So we need to stop that kind of talk. We need to stop like enabling misogynistic behaviors from boys or men, because what that leads to is one, terrible acting men who feel entitled. Not saying all of them are, but like because we're living this kind of system, that's why some of them tend to be. And two, women feeling objectified and women feeling like they can't say anything. Because obviously, when you're in a situation, you feel uncomfortable, but no one is saying anything. So you feel like, am I just being crazy? So stuff like that, very, very small things. And even when I was younger, I ingat macam, kalau ketua kelas kena lelaki, kalau ketua pengawas kena lelaki, tak ada perempuan. Like, I'm not saying all schools are like this, but these are the kind of things that subtly tell girls that you are not worthy to be a leader, or like you are just penolong and you're always second to men. I think these kind of things are things that can't be taught in an academic sense, but macam the interactions that you have with your teachers and your peers, that is something that you have to focus on. So I think that's something that needs to change in Malaysia. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ezzaty. So, inshallah, in my opinion, I think like from what kind of ideas or research I've done, I think like the school system definitely needs to provide a platform for girls to voice out their opinions, maybe like a forum for like girls. So I think like that would really encourage for girls to be more braver in giving out like opinions without being scared, you know? So
I completely agree. Yeah, I think that's a great idea, and I feel like something like that also macam ada also macam usually kat sekolah pun when people tend to ask girls for opinions, it's always macam hal-hal perempuan, but in reality like women have opinions on everything. So like women should not only be approached when it comes to women issues. We are experts on a lot of different things. So yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Ezzaty, for today. This was such an insightful conversation. I think a lot of people benefited a lot. We had a lot of questions being sent on YouTube and private messages as well. I think thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. You're an inspiration to many, and yeah, we look forward to seeing more of your success and achievements. But before we end today's session, I'm pretty sure you have a lot of fans here that would love to take a picture or a screenshot with you. So like guys, please feel free to open your camera. We'll be sharing the screenshots in the Telegram group. So yeah, I'll be giving some time for you guys to feel free to open your camera.
Yeah. At the same time, feel free to follow me on Instagram. Like if you have any further questions, just message me. I'm always more than happy to answer any questions that you have in terms of studying abroad or scholarships or anything like that. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ezzaty, for spending the night with us. It's really amazing hearing you talk about your experiences. I think it's really inspiring, and I've never I wanted to study abroad, but I don't really know what the experiences are like. So I've always been like, I think it's just a mere dream for me. But yeah, thank you so much.
But at the same time, let me just say, just because someone studies abroad doesn't make them any better than someone who studies in Malaysia. I think that's like complete BS. You are who you are and you make the most of your opportunities. And I know a lot of amazing people who study in Malaysia and doing great things in the world. So you do that. It's nothing special about going abroad anyways. It's a great opportunity, but just because it's studying abroad doesn't make it any more special.
All right. Thank you, Ezzaty. Okay. Is everyone ready? All right. I'll be giving like another 30 seconds.
Hi everyone, it's nice to see people's faces. I see you waving, Wendy. Hi.
All right, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, another one. All right, that's the last one. Okay, just one more. 1, 2, 3. All right, that wraps up the session for today. This is the final episode of Norma Siswa. Thank you so much, guys, for staying with us since last year. Thank you so much, Ms. Ezzaty, once again, for spending your time with us. If you guys want more answers, you can always message her on Instagram. She always replies, so feel free to do that. But once again, thank you so much, everyone, for attending. Please don't forget to fill in the attendance in the chat box. But yeah, other than that, thank you so much, Ezzaty. It's a pleasure to have you with us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, goodbye.